bit,
Right.
and then we'll open it up to some questions.
So it's Soto, not Soto, but
Say fast.
yeah. Excited to be here. USC has been a dream of mine, and my wife and I, and when this opportunity came, you know, it took a little bit, but it really was a no-brainer for us to come out here and become Trojans. You know, so we're excited. Spring ball's coming up. Defensive line are my guys, and I told my wife they're gonna hate me before they like me, and right now we're kind of going through that whole process, but we're excited. Yeah, questions?
Can you take us through the process of just that decision when Coach Helton or when the administration first reached out to you, and just what those conversations were like before you took the job?
Yeah, so came out here on our interview with my wife, and she had, I bring her because she can see things from different angles, and Clay Helton, you know, to his credit, was, you know, the guy that kind of tipped us over as far as a boss that, you know, you can get behind and fight for. Coach Orlando's been awesome. You know, he's cut from the same cloth, so to speak. I think the three other guys that you guys have seen earlier today, we're all kind of cut from the same cloth. And, you know, we believe in violence, and we believe in playing football a certain way. And then talking to my parents, and with them being an hour and a half away in Oceanside and Carlsbad area, you know, they were bringing the babies home, basically. I have 5 kids, and so they were ready for their grandchildren to be on the West Coast. Yeah.
What was it about Clay and maybe his style that did tip the scales?
Just being real and honest, and then, you know, he's a faith-based coach, and our faith is big to us, and so you know, what he was able to bring as far as conversations and feelings, you know, we were just fired up and ready to go. Yeah.
You've been with Bronco Mendenhall in different
Right.
levels for quite a few years now.
Right.
What are you taking from his coaching style, philosophies, or him as a human being that you bring here and, as a coach?
Oh man, the list could go on, but most importantly, I would say there's a right way to do things. There's a standard of doing things, and every day it's got to be to that standard, you know, and you got to hold your players to that standard. And so the whole idea of, you know, having violent practices and physical practices, it's not mine. It's just the way that I've known football from getting into college is every day is going to push you to the limit. Every day is going to take you to that dark point that, you know, Orlando talks a lot about. And then we're going to see who can stay there. And really, that's where the championships are. The greatest players I've been around were the hardest workers. Told the story about Charles Woodson being the last guy in Green Bay and giving me a ride back as an undrafted rookie free agent, you know, at 11 o'clock at night, you know, during training camp. That's the kind of mindset and what I bring as far as the standards of our room. You know, you gotta love football. You gotta love football, and at some point, football's gonna love you back.
But Junior Seau must have an influence in terms of growing up. Did you?
Oh, absolutely. I think anybody that's grown up Polynesian, you know, that's one of the top. There's a Mount Rushmore of Polynesian football players. You know, a lot of the guys went here. And Junior, I wasn't allowed to watch TV on Sunday unless there was a family member on TV. So watched a lot of San Diego Charger games. You know, and that was always the excuse. You know, well, Junior's playing, and so, and then, you know, post football, seeing him mentor and bring others along, and same with Troy. You know, played with Troy for a little bit in Pittsburgh, and seeing what his aspect as far as, you know, exiting the game, what he's trying to do as far as for the Polynesian people, which is a huge impact on me and obviously this place, because this is basically the pinnacle, you know, the mecca of Polynesian sports is the play at USC.
There's been a pretty significant infusion of energy from the defensive coaches that have been hired recently. What is your approach to recruiting? You know, I've talked to a lot of guys that you've recruited, and they think very, very highly of you.
Right. Just being honest and upfront. You know, we kind of went through as coaches the same sort of process, you know, with getting hired, of deciding whether or not, you know, USC was the place to be, and my, you know, my whole thought process in recruiting is be honest and be upfront and develop relationships, but then get after them. You know, just tell them, look, you're going to be pushed harder than you've ever been pushed. I'm going to be honest with you. But at the end of the day, you're going to know my kids' names. They're going to wear your jerseys. We're going to be family, and this thing will go on, you know, past playing. So my recruitment philosophy is really simple, man. Be honest up front, and then just tell them really what it is. I think a lot of times in this recruiting process, you can see and hear different things from different coaches, but then when you go out and watch them or you talk to players that are there, it's something completely different. And that's not me. I wear my heart on my sleeve and just go after it.
You said that your players,
Yeah.
how should I put this, will hate you at the beginning and
Oh,
love you
yeah.
later, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And then you said right now they're kind of on the negative
Right.
side. What could you expound on that? What you mean by that? What are they seeing?
Yeah, it's
that they
totally,
haven't seen before?
totally. I think it's just being uncomfortable, you know, and every day for me is to make them be uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable in a bad way. It's uncomfortable, and this is what the greats do. This is, if you want to take your game to the next level, this is where you got to go every single day, and it's something that just doesn't relent. And there's some you know, hatred, so to speak, or like, you know, pushback, but then once they buy in and they see what happens, you know, on Saturdays, you know, in April, and then on Saturdays in September is where it's like, oh, I get it. Oh, it makes sense, you know, and that's where the bonds are really built, is when you take them through that process over and over and over every day.
Can you give me a specific example? Right now, are they putting in more time? Are they getting...
Yeah. Specific example, one of the first guys I sat down with was Jay Tufele, and he had some issues academically, and we had worked through that and pushed him every day, text him. Like, I text the guys every day. Every morning I wake up, I text them and have this group thread. We have this group thread, and I'd send them messages of what, you know, the topic of the day or things we've got to get through throughout the day. But then he's hearing it every single time we talk. He's hearing it from every aspect. He's hearing about academics, and when he's going and sitting down to eat, when he's you know, up working out, and when he's, you know, running conditioning drills and all that. You know, he's hearing it, and to his credit, he's bought in quickly, and you know, he's just taken off. He's done a complete 180.
You're from Southern California, so
Yeah.
you know what USC offers as a school and a football program historically. What do you tell a kid, let's say, from Gaithersburg, Maryland, on why
Gaithersburg,
USC
Maryland,
is a
yeah.
place?
Absolutely. I tell them, one, come and see it. Like, this is unbelievable. I mean, two, you won't need any coats anymore. You can leave all your coats in Maryland. But then the type of people we have around here, and I think the product that we're going to put on the field, you know, in the fall is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be violent, physical, and then the opportunity, obviously, to come in and play with in my position, because a lot of our guys are going to the NFL or graduating. So this place is unique as far as being, you know, the second largest media place in the world, right? And a place that everybody comes to and flocks to because of different things, and just being around here and seeing it. First and foremost is coming here and seeing this place. It's completely different than anything they'll experience.
From your first exposure, do you have the players to be really violent and physical and next year, right away?
Oh, absolutely.
The talent.
You look at Virginia, you know, we were 2-10 4 years ago, and then we go to the Orange Bowl, and leaving there, the strongest unit on the team was the defensive line, and it wasn't guys that were the big, you know, it wasn't the Caleb Trimblays, it wasn't, you know, J2 fellas, it wasn't those guys, it was just guys that bought in. So as far as size and who it is, right, it's more so a mindset, because everybody in this room could be violent and physical if they wanted to and run through a guy's face and go with the quarterback. It's just guys, you know, having to do it over and over and over and over and over again is getting to that place. That's where why, you know, it's so important, these practices coming up.
What stands out to you about Todd's defense and what he's asking from your unit up front?
Right. It's very similar to the unit that I just left, the type of defense that I just left, but more so, you know, the mindset of attacking and getting after it. I think kind of been the, you know, the general theme of these past 3 or 4 interviews is we're gonna get after it, and the mindset of it, and he brings an energy, and Craig brings an energy, and Dante brings an energy, and this defense is just gonna be so much fun. Once these guys get playing where they don't have to think and they can just go around and smack dudes, like that's when it's really, really fun.
You mentioned being multiple up front,
Right.
3 down, 4 down. How do you go about preparing both ways, and where's the personnel kind of fit for those looks?
Right. So it's allowing everybody to learn everything. That's kind of been my mindset going into all my meetings these past 4 years, and this one is to make sure everybody knows what to do and how to do it, and then whoever can do it the best is going to play. Like, I'm very, very fair. I'm very transparent. We had guys last year that were seniors that were actually playing scout team at some point because it was just too soft in practice. So, physicality obviously first and foremost, but then everybody's going to know exactly what to do on every play, and that's kind of how you train them. So it doesn't matter who's playing where. Okay, you play end, or you play nose this time, or so-and-so needs a breather to play the 5 technique. It doesn't matter the body type, really. It's everybody has to understand how the defense works, and then train that way, and then it's really plug and put guys, where you want them.
When you first started talking to Clay about the job, how much was that toughness, physicality, something that he made clear he wanted to focus on?
Yeah, I think it's just through Orlando and through Clay, it's just been, a theme. I don't think there was one specific conversation. Yeah.
Have your guys that you talked to talked about maybe they weren't as physical, they weren't, working on stuff that you guys are talking about last year? Have you talked to the guys about?
Yeah, I haven't really talked about last year.
Okay.
Last year is last year. It's I wasn't here, but we've talked a lot about our expectations this year and going forward. Watched a lot of the defense, a lot of the guys, and just there's so much potential in my room to have an amazing year, and I've been preaching to them over and over. The difference between reality and potential is a lot of hard work, trust, and violence on the football field. Like, that is the difference. And so taking them to that place again, day in and day out, I think will pay dividends in the fall.
Have you been able to identify guys that you see as being leaders this year?
Yeah. On the defensive line, I think Marlon, he's got a quiet leadership about him. He just goes to town, like he just goes and works and works and works and works. And then, Caleb has kind of stepped into the role a little bit. Jay's, stepped up a little bit. But there's still this feeling out where really you don't know, obviously, as a defensive line coach, who guys are until it's time to put the pads on and hit. Then it exposes a lot, once you play real football.
You played linebacker. How did you evolve, and what have you done as a defensive line coach?
Right, so I actually played a lot of positions in college. I played tight end, fullback, D-line, linebacker, and then played linebacker in the NFL. But a lot of what I learned in college is kind of my philosophy now. Is I was an undersized defensive lineman, but played 2 years there as a 4-eye, knocking these guards back. I was 250, and in my mind it was, every play I've got to give everything I've got because I'm smaller, right? So that same mindset, has spilled over into my coaching career and how I coach these guys. Their mindset is, I've got to give everything I got, every play. But as far as linebacker goes, in our defense, we'll have guys dropping from all over the place. So obviously the coverages and whatnot are easier to teach, just because I know that stuff for the front guys, and then knowing what it's like to come from, a 3 technique or a 5 technique and ask to drop and see routes. Like that's a whole different world that I'm accustomed to. But opening their eyes, I think goes back to the linebacker days.
You were in Green Bay at the same time as Graham Harrell.
Yeah, I was.
Did you get any hits on him?
What's that?
Did you get any hits on him?
If I did, they were accidental. No, yeah, we were quarterbacks kind of have their own deal. They're almost like separate from the team. because they're like, you know, that's where all the money is, so everybody, you know, just stay away from the quarterback. On and off the field, no. But, yeah, Graham's known Graham for a while, and followed his career in North Texas, you know, and saw what he's been able to do, and just not surprised because of the person he is and the family he has and the worker he is. So, yeah, back to those Green Bay days.
You're the third defensive line coach in the last 3 years.
Right.
So how is it challenged for you to bring what your philosophy is to undo, for lack of a better word, what they've learned from two previous guys? Why is the way you're gonna do it, a positive approach for them to buy into?
Right. When I took this job, you know, I didn't look at who was behind me because it really doesn't matter. And that's kind of the mindset of the D-line is it doesn't matter, I don't care what you know, this is what's gonna help you be successful because I've seen it and I've done it in the NFL, right? And whether they're the techniques they've learned or not, you know, they're gonna learn how to do what we need them to do. I told them it's a lot like being a free agent, you know, in the NFL, and for these guys that are juniors and seniors, they got 1 year to learn a new system and what a coach wants and to adapt, you know. And so for me, I don't want to be like anybody else. I'm not like any other defensive line coach. I'm just myself, and I take from a lot of people as far as coaching techniques and what I like. But as far as what these defensive linemen are doing, they're going to be taught to a standard and asked to do exactly what they're supposed to do. And the guys that do it more often are the ones that are going to see the field. So I don't really dwell on a lot of the things that happened here before as far as defensive line coaches and defensive line play.
What potential do you see in Drake Jackson and how he fits into what you want to do?
Yeah, unbelievable potential. Again, there's a lot of potential, right? This guy could be, you know, one of the best to ever leave here. But again, there's aspects of his game that we just gotta continue to build on, you know, continue to develop, and that goes with all our guys. You know, we're just in the business of developing everybody in the room.
You say the word violent a lot, you say
Right.
it with a smile. I like that. Can you define violence
Define violence?
for your guys?
Oh, for my guys, I think you'll see it. As far as and hear it and feel it, the oohs, the ahs, like those type of things. But then the violent mindset of anytime I put my hands on something, it goes backwards. Anytime, whatever it is, you know, out on that practice field, anytime you put your hands on something, it goes backwards. And the technique and fundamentals really build confidence in being violent. There's guys that try to go out there and do things, but then they end up on their back. And so my job is to give them the tools to go out there and be violent and physical. But this is what the game is. You know, the forward pass wasn't invented until years after football was. And so it's kind of the roots of this game is violent, physical front play with a ball and somebody go tackling, you know? So I feel like with all this air raid and you know, playing in space and all this, you know, the true roots of this game, the only thing that's left is defensive line, offensive line, violent football up front, you know. Whether the guy has the ball or not, if he fakes like he's got it, he's going to the ground, right? And if he's a sliver of a grass, right, inside the lines, he's gonna get hit. And if he's up off the ground, he's gonna get hit. And that's the type of football that I've been raised on, the type of football that I know this place has played, and the type of football that when you enter the Coliseum has to happen over and over and over again for it to go back to where it was.
Going back to the hiring process, where were you when you got the call, and how did that just hit you in that moment?
As far as where was I when
USC reached out the first time, very first contact?
Yeah, it's a pretty funny story. I think Orlando might have his side of it, but I was watching the Super Bowl and saw that, you know, there were firings here, and so looked it up and saw Orlando was the coach, the hired defensive coordinator, and our roots are kind of intermingled with him at Utah State and Bronco BYU as far as schematically, so I knew it was a fit there, and honestly I pushed the follow button on Twitter, and he followed back immediately and said, hey, let's talk after the game. And that's kind of what started the whole ball rolling as far as our communication and then the interview and offer and accepting and all that. So yeah, don't be afraid to reach out and follow somebody.
When you were playing high school down in San Diego,
Yeah.
I asked this question to one of the other assistants and new guys.
Right.
Were you an SC fan growing up?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't another show in town, right? There wasn't another show in country. There wasn't, like, I don't remember Alabama at all. I don't remember LSU. I don't remember Clemson. I don't remember any of it. All I remember is USC football, right? And ended up going to BYU, but my heart has always been here in Southern California. Growing up out in San Diego, everybody's favorite team was USC, and seeing the landscape of recruiting right now and seeing where, you know, players are going out of the state of California is a travesty, and that's something, you know, that is priority number one in recruiting, is to get the right guys here from this state to represent USC and to go out there and kick ass in the Coliseum.
Time for one more?
What's maybe the biggest challenges when you have a multiple defense
Right.
of teaching both 3-down alignment, 4-down alignments?
A lot of it is the mindset of when you're in certain alignments of what you're doing. So 3 down is different than 4 down. A 3 technique's different than a 4-eye. But having them, the ability of them to understand this is why we're in this front and this is what we're doing. But that's always the challenge, is guys just want to get vertical in a 4 down. And 3 down is real, you know, block recognition and understanding what the offense is trying to do, and there's only a certain amount of plays that they can attack you with. So I like my guys to understand this is 4 down world, this is 3 down world, this is how they can attack us in the run, this is how they can attack us in the run. And then as soon as they bump from a 3 technique to a 4-eye, they know exactly, okay, now I'm in this world, this is where I'm living. And so that's obviously, you know, the hardest thing is having them understand the different schemes.
Great. Thank you,
Sounds
Coach.
good, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.